Sharpshooter shot to the left. Sharpshooter shot to the left. He killed the... Sharpshooter shot to the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here. Now, when I called my husband at home, who's watching TV, he said, I thought Trump hurt his ear when he went to the ground. But he said, no, on TV they showed before Trump hit the ground, the ear was bleeding. So that sharpshooter went across. Trump turned his head. His ear must have been nipped, and it killed somebody in the stands over to the left.
Could you see anyone injured besides the blood on the former president?
All I saw was the gentleman from Beaver County who spoke earlier in the day, who was running for the State House Representative, Elmore. I know his name. He had a white shirt on, and I saw him come from that left stands where the people were mostly shot. I think there was several. They said 3 medevacs left here. Blood was down the right side of his... He wasn't shot, but you could see that he was next to somebody who must have been bleeding profusely, because he either helped them and ran, rubbed against them, or tried to get them help or something. It was covered. So I knew that he was near somebody. That was my first indication that somebody was actually shot, when I saw his blood on his shirt.
Aaron, when did you realize that, hey, this might not be fireworks, this might be something else?
When they got Trump down on the ground. We were just so concerned that he wasn't hit, because we couldn't. It happens so fast. It's really hard to process it. I guess if you have it on your camera to see the exact minute, you can tell. But when he got up, he did not look bad at all. What I've heard coming out here is now they feel that there was 2 shooters on both sides. So they got the one on the tower on this side, but the one on the right side they never got. So that's why they wanted us to leave immediately, because they thought there's still a shooter out there somewhere. So there could be in these woods around Butler. And I feel sad for our country. I feel sad for everybody, you don't like the guy, don't vote for him. Don't kill him. We love the guy. We're going to vote for him. What is up with his violence? It's just terrible. I just wish that people that... I'm glad that guy's no longer with us anymore in that tower. And I hope they get the other one too. And I hope they don't nick him. I hope they get him and he's down.
Okay, she said it 3 times.
Wow.
3 fucking times she said it. She said there was a guy in the tower. There was a guy on the tower that they shot. My contact, the mechanic, Secret Service, told me first thing, the shots came from the tower and they took that guy down. The only thing they're telling us about, the only guy that they are allowing us to speak of is the guy on the rooftop. So what seems really clear right now, and we can get into this a little bit more in a minute, I want to share one other thing, which is a slideshow. This is just a slideshow I put together. There's something really important in here, which is look at this picture, this iconic picture of Donald Trump now.
Jeez.
You have these women who are not big enough, strong enough, or fearless enough to protect the president. Shouldn't be on the detail. Turns out now they're not even Secret Service. They're some DEA or something. But notice this guy. Notice this guy. Same guy. You've seen this guy before. He was a federal agent at a Trump rally, or I forget exactly where it was, but he was part of this group of federal agents that were at a gathering of Trump supporters, I believe in Washington, D.C., protest, there to target and arrest Trump supporters. That's this fucking guy right here. Yeah, this picture just dry rubbed my left labia lip for 2 minutes and then asked if I came.
That meme is hilarious, by the way. Good
hilarious.
Lord.
It is hilarious. Yeah, select all squares with feds. So that guy...
It looks like the same exact guy. I don't know if it is, but it looks just like him.
It is.
Yeah.
It is that guy. And so I have one question to start this show with. and we'll get into all the details of things later. There is a second gunman they have not told us about on the tower. My Secret Service contact confirms that, and I trust his information as much as I trust Steve fucking Doran. So that's my level of trust in my friend and my source. You have this guy here who was on the detail. I believe he was there. He is a known Trump hater. There are other articles that have come out. There is a report now that an FBI agent, and sorry, it's a little complicated here, that an FBI agent has been caught admitting the Bureau wants Trump dead before November. An FBI agent has been caught admitting that the Bureau, hang on a second, has been caught admitting that the Bureau are disappointed that the assassination attempt against Donald J. Trump on Saturday was unsuccessful. There are unearthed social media posts from an FBI staffer named Jenna Howell, who admitted that she and her colleagues in the agency are keen for Trump to be eliminated before November. Agent Howell also criticized those mourning the political violence, posting, y'all gun-toting, Second Amendment-loving hillbillies just better sit down and stay quiet unless you're going to change your mind on gun control. This is reported by the National Pulse.
Wow.
And it goes on and on. According to FBI analyst Chris Toompas, Howell previously worked in the NICS, okay, Firearms Background Check Unit, which assesses individuals' eligibility to acquire firearms. No such agency should exist, actually. He was fired. Howell, he worked alongside Howell before his termination due to his refusal to comply with the COVID-19 vaccines. And this is apparently a legitimate, real story. It's from a website called The People's Voice, but we shall wait. Now, there are multitudes of other details to go into. I don't have them all organized. But, gentlemen, it appears to me it's indisputable now that this was... The question was put on Twitter. There was a failure here. The question is, did they fail to protect the president, or did they fail to assassinate the president? The Secret Service is now on trial.
That part.
I don't know who to start with. Brooks, I guess we'll start with you and Steve and Blake. And then there's a lot more detail, which I'll try to get prepared in the background while you guys talk. But this is now clearly a government plot to assassinate Donald Trump, in my opinion. I don't see how anybody could reach any other conclusion. And frankly, I'm a little astonished. I'm hearing a lot of this kind of talk on the news. Brooks, what do you have?
Well, it's like Laura Ingraham was out saying that the FBI, this is before they cracked into little Tommy Cook's phone, that he acted alone. He was all by himself. That was fine. Laura Ingraham was doubting it, but she reported it. And everybody's saying, why did he miss? Jack Black just had his entire Australian tour canceled for saying his lead guitarist said that. So this is out there, and now, and it's been rumored, of course, for a couple of days if there was another shooter on the tower, but now you found the footage, you put it out there. Toxically Masculine Tuesday is now the #1 roundtable on the internet has revealed that there was indeed a second shooter. It was indeed a cop.
All we do is break news here. Break the real news, Brooks.
That's right. That's right. So I think it was an assassination attempt. And I think that we're not going to get justice through Virtual Joe and his gang of criminals because they're the ones that planned it. Somebody has to have authority, and I think it needs to be the military that steps in and arrests the FBI, all those agents, and they need to be in jail by sundown.
Steve, there are other witnesses that saw a gunman on the tower and saw him shot dead. I'll go look for the videos. I think it's in that same batch while you're talking, but this clearly is I believe, a government conspiracy of neglect or pretended neglect to let this guy go. And we're going to get into the details. Nice storm, by the way, back there, Steve. We'll get into the details in a minute. We're getting into the details in a minute of the rules of engagement, but go ahead and give us what you think about what we just presented.
Well, again, I mean, it's become very clear with all the evidence coming in over the weekend that it is a government, I don't want to call it a conspiracy, it's a fact that the government was in on it. One of the issues that you look for in these situations is, whenever you want something to go wrong, you make sure that the staff that's involved is incompetent. So what they did is they put an incompetent staff in there in an effort to assist in covering up the assassination attempt. They go, well, in the end, our people suck. They didn't know what they were doing. We should have had a better crew there, that type of thing. And they're going to try to blow it off as complete and total negligence.
Now, here's a diagram of the guy on the roof, where the guy on the rooftop was, and where the water tower was. And there are some things about this that I don't understand, which is that one of the people that was hit seemed to be way offline from President Trump. So either this guy missed really, really badly, and I believe this is the guy that was hit in the back of the head, or there were two shooters. And again, there's another video here. If you look at this, if the guy sniper was on this rooftop, and how did this guy so far out of alignment with President Trump get shot? The guy that was killed, the gentleman that was killed, and his name escapes me, and I apologize profusely to his family for not remembering that at the moment. One of the shots nicked President Trump and hit somebody else who I believe is not still with us at this moment.
No, he passed away.
The second guy passed away, did he, or did the?
Well, no, the first guy that was right behind Trump.
Yeah, that was killed is here, but that's offline. But if you look at the tower here, I mean, it would be more in alignment with that. So, any further thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Well,
either?
the gun's been
That's
identified.
a long shot.
Well, the guy, yeah, but it's been identified as a 223. And, Marines regularly take 500-yard shots with iron sights at 500 yards. So,
right.
For somebody with a scoped, tuned 223, that is nothing. That's not even a difficult shot whatsoever.
Yeah. Fortunately, they missed. All right, Blake and Brian Engelman, nice to have you guys here. You're down at the Republican convention. Any thoughts on this new information? And information just keeps coming. Any thoughts for you, either one of you guys?
Oh, it's bombshell. That's amazing. This is JFK 2.0, except it's hard to say if it's sloppier or if it's just so many more people that have access. Even though this is a Zapruder film, that was all new back then, so you couldn't record things like you could back then. So it's hard to say. But I mean, there are some major holes with this story. I don't know if it's their own arrogance or they rushed to do this. But yeah, now it's all seems to be unraveling, and people are asking questions. And as you said, Mike, it's amazing that even the mainstream media is starting to, ask the obvious questions, and we should. This is where we're compromised from within by these three-letter agencies, and they're gone rogue, and so something needs to be done. And that's amazing. They can make that connection with that could be the same people. Like, it's set up a whole big psyop that's unraveling, and we need to keep pulling at the strings here.
Yeah, pulling at the strings to unravel. This, by the way, is an aerial shot of the guy on top of the shed who fired the shot that narrowly missed the president. And his weapon, it is a 223, Steve. I thought I had the link here, but I may have lost it in some other links. Of the weapon has been identified. It is an off-brand. It is not an AR-15. They keep
a Ruger Ranch rifle. It looks like a Ruger Ranch rifle.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's the weapon. And
I can't. They said it was a DPMS.
Right. And does that seem consistent with what you're looking at on the screen?
Yeah, I mean it's a all the 223s, they're clones, they look alike, but in this particular case, a DPMS is a very good 223 and a very accurate 223.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, we haven't gotten anything from you yet. Please join in, and we'll get to the Republican convention a little later.
Yeah, we can talk about that. And it just, I'm rethinking my very first time ever touching an AR styled weapon. By the way, it's Armalite, not assault rifle. Please level up on your comprehension skills, lefties. But the very first time I ever touched that tool, and it's just a tool. It's not good or bad. It depends on the intent of the person who's holding it. I was knocking down and plinking the metal plates at 100, 150, super easy. The very first time I ever touch it, it's very smooth, very easy to learn. My understanding is that this alleged shooter, one of 2 or 3 or more alleged shooters, that I guess they joined not the archery team, but the marksmanship rifleman team, whatever it was called. Right. And they were so far off, they were hitting things several lanes away from where they were. The kid was laughed at, but that's the one that we're supposed to assume took this shot. But 130 yards is not very far. By the way, just touching on something else, the firefighter's name is Corey Comparatore. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but firefighter Corey Comparatore, who, when things went wrong, he dove at his daughter and his wife and covered them up and sacrificed his life so they could live. And then we see, the 5'2", 5'3", 5'4" female Secret Service officers not really being able to do the job. I spoke with someone today and they're like, I'm so tired of hearing people giving grief to those women. They're working just as hard as anyone else. And I said, hold on. They can be in the crowd as undercover. They can be spotters with some sight devices on top of rooftops. That's fine. But when you're trying to protect a 6'6" dude and you're 5'4" on a good day, you cannot do that job. If you cannot dunk the basketball, you can't protect a tall guy. That's not about men or women. It's just about competence. But I'll tell you what, DEI is DONE after this. I think we saw in real time, and comparing back to the head of the Secret Service saying, we need to reach 30% females in the Secret Service group. It's like, how about just put incredibly talented people in these positions where they can succeed? That's how you're going to win this thing. But as far as DEI, it's DONE. People do not want income. It's just a matter of lack of resources. If you're trying to get so many people of a certain demographic into any position, any job, any profession, you're going to have to lower the standards for acceptance if you're going to try to jury rig these demographics. And it's just, none of it works. We've seen it in action. We need to get back to competency instead of whatever this DEI nonsense has been. So there's been a lot of revelations across the board.
I mean, there's other pictures we haven't shown, and maybe we'll get to them tonight, of her doing this instead of protecting the president. No, that's not your job. Your job is to throw yourself in front of a bullet to protect the president.
Yeah, get large like a bear. You get large and you protect the target.
How do you do that when you're 5'3", Brooks?
Well, one of the things that when you practice combat shooting, and I've done a lot of combat shooting with state patrols, and Steve has too, you become one with your weapon. You know how to clear a jam. She's sitting there with her .40 caliber, and she can't even holster it.
Yeah.
She can't even holster. She's looking for her holster on her left side, and she finally just says, oh, hell with it. I'll just carry it. She's not practiced. She's not in her element. She's not doing it. I don't think she's ever held a gun before. And then I read a story today that said this was not the regular Secret Service detail. This was a backup detail that they sent to the Baker event.
Yep, absolutely. It was a backup detail. The real Secret Service agents were sent to cover Jill Biden, who nobody gives a fuck about anyway.
She immediately went into shock. There's no doubt she went into shock. She's burying her head into the president like a child. Protect me.
Hug me, Big Don. Yeah, exactly.
Right. If anything, if she was on the detail, if anything, she should have went around to the back and let the taller guys in the front.
Yep.
But she stays in the front, so if there was a guy on the water tower and he was still alive, it would have been a perfect shot to take Trump out. And she was giving him the exact area to aim at.
Like,
She does basically everything wrong.
Can I just ask for a point of clarification real quick, Mike?
Sure.
With the Watchtower story, are we getting hints that there's a body, or like the story's just completely whitewashed away on the Watchtower? Are we starting to get drips of this, or it's just speculation?
It's well, okay. Let's go back. Let's go back to the previous post, and let me play you another video.
When is the citizen reporter going to climb that tower and show us a picture of the blood on the top of that tower?
That would
hit the
be
ground, and hit the ground, and he kept standing. I was like, "You got to get down, boy! You got to get down. They're going to shoot you." Because if they would have had like a machine gun, they could have taken us all out. So then we laid there for a while. We saw different places where the gunshots were at, and then they got President Trump down. Secret Service did, and they took him out of there and got him off of the stage, and he was bleeding. And so then my son and daughter-in-law was back behind us, back behind the fence. And we was worried about them. We couldn't call them. And so we started trying to go after them then when they finally let us up. And they had been right by the fence where the other shooter was. There was one I heard in the water tower. There was one by the fence.
And still, obviously, initial reports. But what we do know...
Hit the ground.
there was one over on the water tower, and there was one on the
first crack of the gunfire, and I just screamed, "It's the sniper! It's the sniper!" And he was firing down. First crack of the gunfire, and I just screamed, "It's the sniper! It's the sniper!" And he was firing down toward the water tower.
That's what we're hearing.
And yeah, and then at that same exact moment, there was a spray from the right side of the stage that I thought was some type of gas, or not gas, but smoke.
Sure.
Lined up front. And he said he heard it was gunfire hitting the hydraulic on the track. So the gunfire was coming toward the stage.
Wow.
And then a few minutes later, there was a couple more shots spotted down the hill, and that's when they started flooding and pushing everybody out.
Okay, so she's saying, I believe she is saying, not only are those witnesses confirming shots from the water tower, but shots back at the water tower, and apparently they're saying there were shots in the woods, is what it sounded like she said to me a couple minutes later after the whole incident was wrapped up, which could indicate 2 or 3 gunmen. This is the same situation as the Kennedy assassination, where there were 2 gunmen. There was Lee Harvey Oswald in the 6th floor window of the Texas School Book Depository, and there was J.D. Tippett, the Dallas police officer, on the grassy knoll behind the fence, which Steve Dorr and I am going to prove to you someday when we do our documentary. And I think you had 2 shooters here. The question is, this story is not being talked about yet on mainstream media, but you've got these witnesses. Steve, I don't know, Steve, you're a cop. Do you think those people are making it up, or do you think those people, everybody said when Kennedy was killed, the shots came from the hill behind me. The shots came from the grassy area over there. The shots came from behind the fence on the grassy knoll. I saw a policeman up there with no hat, with a rifle, and again, we now have pictures. We have the Mary Mormon picture, Ancient Aliens and JFK. Read my book, watch my soon-to-be documentary. We have proof that there was a gunman up there. They were all right. So if those people were all right, Steve, what do you think the chances are as a policeman? And no pressure, give me your honest opinion.
Well, typically, you're going to get, anytime one gunshot goes off, I'm just going to clarify this for you a little bit. When one gunshot goes off, unless you're right next to it, it's very difficult to tell where it came from. So a lot of times if you have one shot, you'll have people say it came from over there, it came from over there, it came from over there, because you can't tell where it's coming from when you only have one shot. Now, there were multiple shots, and there were multiple witnesses who saw the exact same thing. So there's no doubt in my mind that there was somebody on that tower.
Okay. Anybody else? Brooks, Blake, Brian, you want to chime in on this part of it?
It does look like a few of those bullets came in pretty quickly. I've seen those reenactment videos. I don't know if those are stacked shooters or if it's the same gun that he just fired 3 rounds really quickly at his ear. I don't know if we're going to play that particular video. I don't know if they're all at the same angle, if that even makes any sense. But if they could all shoot at that same time and then pin it on the patsy that got shot on the easy ledge.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, I got to be open to all the scenarios, and we're just piecing it all together. It's great.
And my understanding is that if you let that person get the first shot off in the chaos, that's when the other two clean up the job.
That is precisely correct.
So when are we going to get the actual information? My thoughts on this have not that they've changed or evolved, but I think I've become even more strident in calling for this. Why is Kim Cheadle walking amongst us? It's not a question of why has she not resigned? Why has air quote President Joe Biden not replaced her yet? It's more of a question of why has the military not arrested her, commandeered her, flown her down to Guantanamo Bay and started enhanced interrogation techniques to find out what in the hell were you doing leaving a rooftop unoccupied? It seems like you did this intentionally. Talk yourself out of a treason charge.
Yep.
Speak on your co-conspirators, or else we're going to turn up the volume on these.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Cheadle is not in Guantanamo right now, because it's either the most incompetent dereliction of duty I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Not incompetence.
She was organizing a plot behind it to intentionally take out President Trump. That
is exactly right.
It's not incompetence. It was a plot to kill the president. And if it was me, yeah, she'd be down at Guantanamo right now with her nipples clamped to a fucking truck battery. That's where she would be right now until she spilled everything. Steve, all right, storm's going out there.
Storm's going.
Storm's coming.
Oh.
The rooftop of the secondary building was uncovered. It was uncovered. Nobody was there. You're not Secret Service, but my other friend is. But you know what you're talking about with these things. It had to be covered. It should have been covered. They actually had counter snipers in an office in the building right underneath this fucking guy. He was spotted by, there's other videos, he was spotted by people 3 to 5 minutes before. They were telling the local police. They were telling the FBI. They were telling the Secret Service. There's a guy on the roof with a fucking rifle. Now, I understand. I saw your texts. You're saying you don't shoot unless you're positive he's a bad guy and not a cop. I don't see how that could be policy. I'd like to know what you think about the guy on the rooftop and what the hell happened there.
There is a claim that when it involves the president or somebody, who is a very important person, VIP, we'll just use that they don't have to have permission to shoot. That's not necessarily true. As you know, these were not regular Secret Service agents. They were hirelings. I have been on a multitude of different details, and even if, everybody likes the backyard quarterback and go, well, he saw the guy, he should have shot him. Well, then we might have been hearing about, he shot a Secret Service, the guy's incompetent, he shot a Secret Service agent who has 5 kids and a newborn and blah, 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 blah. When you're on that trigger and, you're calling in and you're like, asking for permission, from what I understand, he asked for permission and they denied him. So, at that juncture, in your mind, what's going through your mind, you're under a tremendous amount of pressure to begin with. You're like, well, maybe he is Secret Service. Maybe they sent him up there. Maybe he's a repairman. I don't know what he is. And it wasn't until he saw the rifle and the shot go off. Again, I'm just going by what I've heard. I don't know this firsthand, and nobody told me this firsthand.
Right.
But, as soon as he saw the shot go off, he did not follow his orders and returned fire at that point. So now we have to figure out who returned fire at the guy in the tower. Where did those shots come from?
Yep. And there were apparently other counter snipers around the area. We don't know exactly where, all of that yet. It is. I don't want to get too deeply into the supernatural aspects of this. I'll probably do that tomorrow on the show with Jen. But how close did they actually come to killing the president? And this is how close they came.
This video is incredible, Mike. This is unbelievable what you shared. I got goosebumps watching this. This is, imagine us trying to get together and have a sane, rational, calm conversation on Tuesday with Donald John Trump cold in a slab somewhere. This is how close we were.
it wouldn't be possible because I would have already been arrested for, going down to the Democratic headquarters or something. And, I'm not going to say it, but yeah. Here.
Take a look what happened. Take a look what happened.
This is a three-dimensional recreation.
Take a look what happened.
If he doesn't, I don't know. I don't know that there were 3 shots that rang past his ear like that. We know that there was definitely one. Brooks, any thoughts?
And the God.
Yep.
And the God. I'm just the same as Brian. I shot a 223. I've shot probably 20,000 rounds through him, up to 500 yards. And Steve is exactly right. Even with iron sights, you can shoot tin cans, aluminum cans off the fence. With a scope, it is an absolute no-brainer. It's a very flat round. It doesn't have a lot of recoil. I understand buck fever, but you missed with your first round, you make a correction, and you pull the trigger again. You do not miss like
Steve, any commentary on that before we go to the lake?
Well, I mean, the thing is, to me, it was just a miracle because, the chance of him turning his head at the last second, there's no way humanly possible for him to do that. None.
Yeah. It's literally like this. Hit, miss. Hit, miss.
And Mike, I don't have it pulled up right now, and I'm not going to try to cue it up. But if you haven't seen, because I hadn't seen it until maybe 6 hours ago, the video of maybe 60 seconds prior to the shot.
Right.
President Trump is going off script. And he said, I know you don't want to hear about it, but let me tell you, I got the best people in the world. Thank you. So they're doing this. Show me, put up on the screen. I want to show what he goes totally off the teleprompter to say his guys are the best because they're kind of rolling with an audible to show him the graphic, put it up on, and it was him turning his head to look at the Jumbotron on his own audible while thanking his own production team that saved his own life. So to anybody who says he rambles too much, he goes on, he talks too much,
fuck up, right? Yeah.
This saved his life. And in this one moment, every instinct he has seems to be firing on all cylinders. I don't know how he's been so charmed and blessed to make it through this maze of calamity. It's like playing that game Pitfall or something. There's an alligator and there's a pit full of spikes and everything you do could almost kill you, but Trump keeps surviving somehow. And it was that off the cuff, let's look at the thing. And that's what saved him. And if you haven't seen the minute before, do yourself a favor and find that video. Watch him praising his team. And that's why he looked at the teleprompter or up at the screen when he did. And that's when that turned 2 inches to the side and it saved his life. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's just, it is supernatural. And we're allowed to talk about that because, yes, it's hand of God stuff here. This is biblical. This is the battle of good and evil. These people are monsters. And the Republicans don't need to dial down the rhetoric. You need to match the people that are trying to kill you. I'm not saying people need to be violent. I'm saying that people need to identify when an enemy is actively trying to end your life, kidnap you, throw you in jail, ruin you, bankrupt you, ruin your family, ruin your career, ruin your job, ruin your reputation. That's what they're doing. Republicans need to match that energy, not back off. We need to dial it back. How about
Republicans?
They're the ones that started this stuff.
Wait a minute, Brian. Not Republicans, Brian. Patriots.
Americans
are in on it. There were if there were Republicans who probably knew about this plot and didn't say a fucking word.
Nope.
That's right.
The Republicans are just as guilty as the Democrats. It's patriots that need to fight. And I want to discuss the toned down rhetoric aspect of it when we get to the convention part of it. I'm not sure that's the right way to go. I want to get to a couple other things on this first part before we move on. I have a friend Kelly Renee Lloyd Black, who's been friends of mine for a few years, with me for a few years. And she pointed out something I think is really interesting when it comes to, is this a plot against the president? I find it interesting that all of the networks were actually televising the rally live, because that's what they haven't been doing for the last 5 years.
Right.
Televising the Trump rallies live.
Wow, that is a
Normally,
great point.
I'd have to go to YouTube to find his rallies because they don't televise them. I believe, again, I agree with Kelly.
God,
That is another proof that this was a plot that was known about by the fake news media, and
Everybody wanted to carry it live.
everybody wanted to be there live when he got his head blown. I believe. Steve, am I jumping the gun here or no?
I don't think so. I really don't. And as far as the Republicans are concerned, you know, I went through the same thing that Trump went through. You know, they tried to eliminate me. They tried to prosecute me twice. They lost both times. And, you know, the thing is when you look at these situations, and again, I'm not going to try to get overly spiritual here, but when you look at these situations, my situations, Trump's situation, people who in similar situations, you know that it has to be divine intervention, because literally I was looking at like 150 years in prison had they convicted me.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it was like God's timing is incredible, as like, you know, you think something's going wrong, or you think that, oh man, you know, it's a lost cause, maybe I should plead, maybe I should do this, whatever, and then you come to your senses and say, no, I'm going to fight till the very end.
Yep.
And you realize that all those things that occurred for a reason. All the delays, all the things that happened for a reason to put you in a position to win. And I think, you know, it's the same thing with Trump. If he doesn't win by a landslide now, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was voter fraud and that everything was fixed, because even people that I know who hated his guts, you know, dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, are now voting for him because he got shot at.
Yep.
And they are disgusted by the Democratic Party.
Joe, I wanna get to this. This is a very good point. Who was the intended replacement if President Trump had been murdered? Because somebody knew about this. There was a plan. Was it J.D. Vance? We're gonna get into the political aspects of that, Joe, but I want to finish with this first part of it. Nikki Haley would never have been the nominee. She might have been the vice president, but she would never have been the nominee. I don't think. Blake, you've been quiet. I haven't gone to you. Any input, anything you want to add to any of the stuff we've been discussing here lately before we move on to the next aspect of it?
No, I think you're right. I think they were getting ready for a big celebration. I think the Oval Office speech was originally going to be about healing the nation after the terrible tragedy. And I think that just looking at some of it, I kind of thought Nikki Haley might have been getting prepped to be the new nominee. Like, she had just gotten she wasn't going to show up at the RNC, and I guess she did at the last minute, apparently within like 30 minutes or so before the Trump assassination attempt. So she was trying to work in there or swoop in there at the RNC and be like, okay, well, I'm going to take it and we're going to beat the Democrats. I think the neocons absolutely would have nominated her. Probably would have been her and like Marco Rubio or something. I think that's that. So they probably had to change some speeches and change some things around because it didn't go the way that they planned. Whether it was divine intervention, it certainly looks at it when you add it all up. I'm not a religious guy, but I might have to reevaluate things after seeing that. He literally just that bullet just missed him. That's crazy. So this is a historic moment, and hopefully people realize that the Democrats have finally pushed too far, and they will jump on for Trump. See the light.
Blake's exactly right. Nikki Haley accepted the speaking invitation at 5:42, and he was shot at 6:11.
God.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
The neocons need a champion somewhere. It wasn't coming from Vivek. It wasn't coming from JD. It wasn't coming from Donald.
Yep.
Nikki was more than willing to lay down and let that happen.
Speaking of people who need to have their nipples clamped to a truck bed, let's start with Nikki
This is
Haley.
a late night show after all.
Yeah. Also from Kelly, she was describing how in the early 1990s, or in the 1990s, she was working as an intern in an office in I want to say Kansas, Missouri, in Columbia, Missouri, and President Bush, the first one, was there on a visit, former president. And she said the level of Secret Service presence was insane for a former president who was not running for president again, who was not threatened by other people. And she says what happened there was completely the exact opposite of what happened in Missouri in the 1990s. The level of scrutiny, the level of investigation. She saw the whole thing as they prepared for this visit, and this brings up the current issue here. Charlie Kirk pointed out, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle now admits that the United States Secret Service knew the building 125 yards from President Trump's location was a major vulnerability, but they didn't station an agent there because it had a sloped roof.
Right. They secured it from the inside.
What does that got to do with anything?
Oh, it might be dangerous for an agent to go up there, Steve.
I mean, isn't it true? I mean, and I'm just going off. I read some news reports right before I came on, but he actually bought a ladder. The shooter actually bought a ladder at like Home Depot or something, brought it with him, put it against the building, and climbed right up. Nobody said anything.
Nope, that's correct.
It's like Keystone Cops. It's like something out of a Pink Panther, out of some sort of 70s cartoon. This isn't real life. This is not how the Secret Service operates. You only get this sloppy if you're this intentionally sloppy. This isn't accidental. This was a designed plan. You don't just forget to cover the roof that's 125 yards away.
For me, the simple presence of the guy who was at the Trump rally, dressed in shorts and a T-shirt, that's federal agent. The simple presence of that guy on the stage with Donald Trump, who was there to entrap and imprison Trump supporters. That is all the proof I need that this was a government conspiracy with orders directly from the Oval Office. And I would remind people, when I say the Oval Office, I don't necessarily mean Joe Biden. I mean the people behind Joe Biden as well. That's where the orders came from. And the question that I have, and I don't know the answer to yet, is there going to be justice for these people or not? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Go ahead. Brooks, Blake?
I don't think there's going to be any justice because we don't have justice in this country. Until the military steps in to protect the commander-in-chief, it's not going to happen.
Yep. Steve, you disagree with that?
No. The sad thing is that when you look at all of these recent prosecutions and you look at what they're prosecuting and what they're not prosecuting, it is an absolute tragedy what's happened with our criminal justice system. And, they're bought and paid for, especially on the federal level. I was talking to a buddy of mine, another retired guy today, and, his comment was, you can kill 30 or 40 people, burn down a bunch of houses, blow up their cars, and but if you're a middle-aged white guy and you shoot sommone in self-defense, you're going to prison. The guy
speak up in a city council
who commits terrorist acts is going to walk.
Yeah, hell, if you speak up in a PTA meeting or a school board meeting, you're going to be on an FBI watch list.
Well, you look at who they're letting go, and like I said, this thing is never, unless Trump gets in, and again, we don't know if he is or not. This is not going to be their last attempt, I can assure you.
Oh no,
it's going to get worse.
Well, it's like the other story, yeah.
But if he doesn't get in, there's no hope that they're going to be prosecuted. There's this much hope if he gets in.
Okay. Blake or Brian, is there any saving the Treasury, the Secret Service, the FBI, the CIA at this point, or do they all need to be shattered into 1,000 pieces and scattered to the wind? Is that what needs to happen?
Yeah, there you go. I think they've been too politicized, too weaponized, and they're going to have to clean these places out, these agencies, and then have these people just reapply. And then once we start going through their social media and finding out who they really are, they're not going to be a part of that new republic. So it's time for a house plan.
My concern is that after this assassination attempt, and you've seen that Adam Carolla interview with Tucker Carlson. First they denigrate you, then they impeach you, then they impeach you again, then they're lying about you, then they do this and they do that. What's left? What's left? Of course they're going to assassinate you. The concern is, of course, that it's not going to be safer now. After the assassination attempt, it's actually going to be more dangerous to be around Trump. I mean, coming out here to the Republican convention in Milwaukee, I keep thinking, my whole life I've heard about these suitcase dirty bombs. God almighty, they keep missing Trump, don't they? Like in the Matrix movies, it's slow motion and he's just bending sideways and the bullets are going past him. Like, okay, well, we can't get him tactically. Let's try a tactical nuke. And so these people are lunatics. They're demonic. I can't believe you're using such rhetoric. You're causing all this. No. I'm reacting to the violence of the left, and I'm sick of it. I'm drawing a line in the sand. And I am concerned this weekend. Blake and I booked the arrangements to attend this convention one day before Trump was shot at. Like, it was that close of it. I don't know if I would have booked.
It was that morning, yeah.
Yeah, it was that morning. I don't know if I would have booked this had I known he was going to get shot. But regardless, we get one life to live this time around. I don't know if this is a video game, a simulation, a test, a joke, some sick joke from God. I don't know what it is. But I do believe that while we're here on this earth, we get one voice. And while they still allow us to have the internet, because trust me, if I were a bad guy, I would have taken the internet away 20 years ago. I'm going to make my voice known while I have it. And this stuff reeks to high heaven. I did enjoy seeing President Trump come out to the RNC yesterday. He didn't speak, but he was surrounded by a bunch of pro wrestler looking dudes that were about 6'8". That gave me a little confidence, but the deep state that's gone this far, they're all in. They are so busted if Trump gets in power, when Trump reassumes the power they should have had in 2020. They know that it's now or never. They've got nothing left. So I don't know if the power is going to go out, and EMP, the 30 million illegal alien invaders stationed across our country are going to be snapped into action. Their sleeper cells are going to be activated when their cell phone gives it a buzz, a special ringtone. Whatever happens, we all need to be ready to step our game up, like the firefighter who dove on his family and like the sniper who stopped the threat. We all need to start thinking of ourselves as little independent saviors for our nation and saviors for our local communities and our own households. Because I don't think this is going to get calmer. I think it's going to get ratcheted up even worse.
Oh, I think, you're definitely right.
That's my guess, though.
It absolutely will. I wrote a book called The Choice 14 years ago where I told you, starting with the window opening on December 21st, 2012, and ending sometime in 2024, we are going to go through a period of chaos where everything is going to be rethought and restructured in our society. Our financial structure, that's coming. Our government structures, everything is going to collapse, but it's an opportunity to replace everything with something new. And everybody is here to experience this shift and this change, Brian. So I absolutely agree with you on all that. And the other thing that's critical about this and why I call the book The Choice is you're forced. God, the stars, the planets, the alignments, whatever you want to call it, is going to force you to pick a side.
Get off the fence and get active. Left or right, good or bad, go. Pick a side.
And that's exactly what's going on right now. Okay, let's flip over to the political side of this a little bit. After the assassination attempt, there were all sorts of bullshit sort of headlines. This is an example. Trump surrounded by Secret Service after fall. Yeah, Trump rush off stage after he trips. This is an example of a CNN meme. Yeah, Caesar injured in group hug. That's exactly the kind of thing that they said.
They actually put this on CNN?
No. This is like a joke. And I do have there are posts, but I'm not prepared to go through my Twitter feed and find them all.
Well, CNN did call it they called it an incident.
An incident.
Okay.
Yeah, a gunshot with incidents.
See, I refuse to turn on CNN or have anything to do with
me
it.
either.
Only for humor, only for comedic purposes, right?
Right. The communist news network. But again, we're in this political situation. Brian, this is the 5th assassination attempt against Donald Trump that I'm aware of. I'm aware of 4 more. I've done videos on them before. The first attempt was on his trip to Singapore, where he met with Kim Jong-un for the peace talks with North Korea, which they absolutely Deep State did not want. This was in 2017.
That was when he crossed the DMZ at that point, that photo up?
You can see a missile fired. No, that was the next. That was in
That was in April.
Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about the clandestine first meeting with Kim Jong-un.
A missile fired at Air Force One as it passed over Whidbey Island, Washington, from a decommissioned submarine. There was another attempt on Martin Luther King Day. They had a guy with a rocket launcher who was going to rocket launch a rocket propelled grenade at Trump and Pence at the Martin Luther King Memorial. The third time was in Hanoi with the summit with Kim Jong-un, when Kim Jong-un said, I am going to agree to get rid of my nuclear program. That was broken up because of a suitcase nuke threat from Osama bin Laden, who was financed by the deep state. I know this for a fact. I confirmed everything with my friend the mechanic. Trump comes out, it suddenly breaks up. There's a 39-minute press conference, exactly 39 minutes, and then Trump gets on Air Force One and is airborne. Guys, I'll give you 3 guesses how many minutes it takes to prepare Air Force One to get airborne. 39 minutes. I've laid it all out. I may repost the video. I may make a new one to add the 5th assassination attempt. And I was told by the mechanic that $100 million price on the head of Osama bin Laden had been placed out within 10 minutes of them getting airborne out of Hanoi. Kim got on his train and left immediately. He was already gone. He was already out of Hanoi by the time Trump gave his news conference. So that did happen. That threat is out there. And by the way, 3 months later, Osama bin Laden had assumed room temperature, and that was all publicly stated. So I'm just going to, my friend the mechanic, he's not exactly John Wick in the looks department, but in every other way, he's kind of a John Wick. So
this is attempt number 5, you're saying? This is number 5 that we know of.
At least number 5. I understand there was another one they attempted to use a drone to shoot him through a window of Mar-a-Lago, but it was a bulletproof window. So, but I don't know. That one I cannot confirm, but I have heard that
5.5.
And he did say one time, I said, can you ask him if there was one more time where Trump had engine trouble on a plane coming out of New Orleans from a rally, and they had to turn around, and they said, was that an assassination attempt? And the mechanic said, I'll ask. And he came back, and I said, well, what was the answer? And he said, they said, oh no, we haven't had one of those for 3 months at least. So constant attempts to assassinate President Trump. This time,
unreal.
They got very close, and it was only by a miracle of God that it didn't happen. So let's swing this over to the political side of it a little bit. Trump was subdued yesterday. I would not be. If I were Donald Trump, once I was, I would have come to the convention last night, and I would have stood up there and I would have said 7 words. Those 7 words would have been, I am coming for all of you. 7. That's what I would have said, but I'm not him. So instead, he was subdued. They're talking about how he's going to rewrite this speech, so he's going to be all calm and call for national unity. Here's the thing, Brooks. This is to you. That's what you do if you want to win an election. That's not what you do if you're in a war with demons.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it is a war, but it's not a war.
First of all, on this show 3 weeks ago, you predicted a major assassination attempt against a major public figure. You were dead right. You're also predicting we're not going to make it to an actual election in the fall. Jennifer has also said the same thing. Like, she sees that an election is unnecessary. But what I want to ask you is this an indication that we're moving forward to an election, or is it just street theater, pretending like we're still going to go forward with the political process, but other things are happening behind the scenes? I kind of want to know what you think.
Well, the interesting thing that I watched, within 3 minutes of the assassination attempt, it was no more than 3 minutes, the left was already on TV saying that MAGA is going to take revenge against Joe Biden for attempting to assassinate President Trump. This clued me in to the idea that there might be some credence to the theory that they want to put Biden at room temperature. That's really the only way out of their political situation, where they lose all the down ticket, and blame it on MAGA at the same time. I thought, how are they going to do that? Going to do it with a dirty bomb, with terrorists? I mean, how are they going to do that? Well, now they have the stage set for a counterattack, and they're going to take the counterattack. And I'm going to make a prediction that Joe Biden and maybe Jill and maybe Kamala at the same time will all be taken out with a terrorist attack or a machine gun attack or some kind of explosion or a dirty bomb. That's going to make the election unnecessary, and then the Democrats will move in with more sweeping acts to delay the election.
Okay, that's interesting. Blake, any thoughts?
They're going to blame it on MAGA. They're going to say we cannot have an election in an atmosphere of war like this.
What do you think, Blake?
I think they could absolutely go scorched earth at this point. And if that's taking out Trump first and then some of the other ones, and just the ultimate divide and conquer and start the Civil War, declare martial law, and they can lock this place down, and boom, we've got Hunger Games right away. They wanted to play it slowly, boiling the frog, but now they might have to just go for broke. But I do agree with Brooks. They could also play that, suspend the election, start a war, something like that. So expect anything and everything at this point.
Right. And again, Dave Barra has pointed out that what he believes we've been in the last 3 years is an interregnum, which is a period where nobody knows who the king actually is. One of the ways to break that law, because there are signs, symbolic signs that Trump has been in charge of certain things. There's rumors Trump is still commander-in-chief. By the way, when you lose an election, or you're required by law to resign the position of commander-in-chief, Donald Trump never has. So the only way Joe Biden gets the duties of commander-in-chief and really gets control of the nuclear arsenal is if the war is started. So there is definitely a possibility. Well, that's the other thing, too, is it could be they could blame it on the Russians. They could say a Russian shot. A Russian working with MAGA extremists killed Joe Biden. So they get rid of Joe Biden. They get their better candidate. Martial law lockdown, all that stuff's possible. Steve, any thoughts or any opinions on this before we go on to Brian?
Well, like I said, I think it's going to get a lot worse. And the only way, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, I am not condoning this in any way, shape, or form, but the only way to get rid of Biden is for them to make him take the dirt nap. Because at this juncture, if he refuses to go, there's nothing they can do about it.
Unless the military has the balls to step in. But if they didn't step in after what happened on Saturday, I don't know if they ever are. Brian, any further thoughts on this?
I wish I didn't have the thoughts that I have.
Yeah.
If I had a buck for every time I could say that. Sadly, I do think offing Biden takes care of so many problems. Now, on one hand, Biden's unelectable. He's absolutely, without a doubt, hands down, 100% the worst president America has ever seen. On the flip side, nobody replacing Biden stands any chance against Trump. It's a 100% lock that in an actual honest voting system, Trump in a landslide. 48 states, 47 states, in a landslide. But what about the headline? Proud Boys. No, it wouldn't be Proud Boys. It would be Patriot Front has taken responsibility for the car bombing that claimed the lives of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. You mean the two most unlikable politicians of our lifetimes are both erased and you get to blame it on MAGA? I'm telling you, the Democrat deep state monsters have no shame. They have no morals. They have no scruples. They have no sense of humanity. Erasing those two in their minds, if they were to do it, would solve almost all of the problems and at least give them a fresh start, a Control Alt Delete reset of their system. They're going to lose either way in an honest election, but there's not a single American alive right now who believes that in an honest election, a Joe Biden Kamala Harris ticket is going to even come remotely close within 20 points of Trump Vance.
They'll be lucky to get 20% of the vote, let's face it.
I've never seen a more pathetic administration than what Biden's put forward in the third Barack Hussein Obama administration.
Make Jimmy Carter look like a genius leader. By the way, now that I've lost my 2 YouTube channels, or 3 YouTube channels for everything that's been said on this show, it's been nice seeing you. Bye-bye. I just want to, because we are not saying that Joe Biden should be given a dirt nap. We're simply saying that's what we think. That's what we think that their side has to do.
We fear the deep state is going to do that because they are completely out of ideas. They're completely out of options. We feel that they are going to do that to their own and blame it on MAGA. That's what we fear.
I am not. What?
Go ahead. I'm just saying, it's your turn.
All right. Well, my thing is, I am not looking for revenge. I am looking for justice. I have been looking for justice for the last 8 years, and it hasn't come. And so, there's no way that I'm going to get down and dirty and play their game of backstabbing, trying to ruin people's credibility or whatever. I want the justice system to go to work as it should and hold these people accountable and have a public trial, try them for treason, and hang them. That's what I want to see. That's justice to me.
No more hearings. We need to have arrests.
Well, yeah.
Enough with the hearings already. Seriously.
All right, boys, Blake and Brooks, you guys got any report for us? For not Blake and Brooks, but Blake and Brian. So many B names in here. You guys,
By
Blake.
The way, I have never heard Blake so quiet in my life.
No, Blake is. Blake gets like this when he drinks heavily.
Right, I get really quiet, and then
Blame it on me for sucking up that energy over here. My apologies. Cheers, gentlemen. Once again, you talked about him drinking. It's Toxically Masculine Tuesday. Cheers.
Any report from the RNC? What's the energy level like there? Are people all about this? Let's calm the rhetoric down and be nice to our enemies, And speaking of Caesar, by the way, how did that work out for Caesar?
Right.
Or are they ready to go to war? Are they ready to go to war?
Well, there was a setback yesterday. It looks like there was a police shooting, which could escalate things. No, we have not been out there. Today we just arrived just a few hours ago. So we're just settling in, and we're planning to do 2 full days tomorrow and Thursday for the final day. But not so much of an update. But that would be something to look out for. So whether they're going to start bringing out the more aggressive protesters, you could absolutely see that. Even though there is heightened security, there definitely going to be some pushback for that police killing, even if it was justified.
Right. Brooks, any other thoughts from you at this point? How's the conference, by the way? And did you give that lovely Julia Kamen a little slap on the backside for me? If you haven't, please
I haven't seen it yet.
please walk up to her, slap her on the ass, and say, "Mike, that was for Mike Vera."
I'll remember that. No, the conference has been really good. About a couple hundred people in and out. About 110, 120 constantly in the room. One big lecture room. All the speakers are good. We still got a couple of days to go. We got Wednesday, Thursday to go. I speak on Thursday, so hopefully the room is packed in. It is streaming live, so if you want to watch it, it's movement.org.
It's weird to do a conference Monday through Thursday. That's a little weird.
It is, but it's the only way to keep the price down for people.
There you go. All right, Steve Doran, any final thoughts on your part about any of this stuff?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. But like I said, I mean, I really, people need to really, and I've been saying this a long time, and people say, well, you know, it hasn't come to fruition at this point. But, I mean, people really need to be careful while they're out there. There are going to be some things start to happen, start to transpire, that if you don't know where you're at, what you're doing, and where you're going, you're going to get caught in a really severe mess. So, you know, just everybody, watch out for yourself.
Yep.
Keep your eyes open. Don't get drunk like Blake and Brian.
I got drunk last night.
Where they have no.
I'm catching strays here. I'm catching strays.
I went down to the Cosmopolitan last night and got drunk and teased.
Yeah, but you were with a hot chick though. That's a difference. They're with each other. I mean, give me a break.
I wasn't the only guy with the hot chick, but yeah.
So anyway, though, but what I'm saying is, make sure that when you're out in the public, that you're, you know, in total control of your faculties. You're paying attention to what's going on. I don't mean be paranoid. Go out, do your business, keep doing everything that you normally do. Just be careful.
Gentlemen, I've been given one piece of information. Stay away from rooftops for the next couple of weeks.
Because then you would be a what? A was and a were? That would be your pronoun?
That would be was, were. All right. I think the takeaways from tonight are that there is mounting evidence of a second shooter on the water tower. That's confirmed from at least 2 or 3 witnesses we just saw, and my own inside contact at Secret Service. It's definitely a conspiracy. Don't forget that what's her name, Gina Cheadle or whatever, the head of the Secret Service. Don't forget who she worked for, how she got her start in politics.
Cheetos and Burritos.
Dick fucking Cheney.
She was a rent-a-cop. She was a rent-a-cop at Cheeto Lane.
For Dick Cheney, for the Cheneys. So again, keep that in mind. The evidence continues to mount. This was an inside job. This was planned, and it is a miracle the president survived.
A miracle.
Did we mention that that little Tommy Crooks was in a Biden ad paid for by BlackRock?
Yeah.
What are the odds? The odds are 8 billion to 1. There are no coincidences, people.
Right. And in the there are no coincidences category, gentlemen, I'd like to leave you with this tonight, which is hang on, let me get to it, which is a little bit weird.
I think Tommy's parents are in the witness protection program. They haven't been interviewed by anybody.
Has anybody else noticed this?
Yeah.
That is so. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. Thank you so much, man.
I thought that he was a Native American. I just couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I thought he was 1,100. I thought he was 1,024th Native American. Look, guys, say what you want. Say what you want about this, and all these doppelgangers I'm always pointing out. She is a, Chief Batshit Crazy Horse there on the right is a psychopathic Trump hater.
Oh yeah.
And this guy could be her younger twin brother or something. I mean, It's too weird for me.
Hey, Mike, as we're wrapping up, can I ask you your thoughts on this? Treebeard in the comments said, but he was a registered Republican. Can you give me your thoughts on that? Because I keep hearing that.
That's not true. He's a Democrat. He's a lifelong Democrat. He registered as a Republican in Pennsylvania so he could, I think it was in Pennsylvania, so he could vote in the primary as a Republican and vote for Nikki Haley to try to stop Donald Trump. That's the only Republican thing he's ever done. It was a typical Democrat scam. So that's
all of the money. He was a Democrat donor.
Yep.
And there's a whole faction of the Republicans that are never Trump neocons.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All
right, guys. That's what we got. And luckily for you, you weren't around when I was really pissed earlier, but thank you for being here. Stay toxic, stay masculine, stay off of rooftops, stay prepared, because I think the shit is not hit the fan quite yet, but it's about to, and we'll have to wait and see how that.
Remember your rules of engagement. This is the best roundtable on the internet.
That's right. Keep water and stuff in your car in case you get stranded for an extended period of time. Take care of yourself and your family first.
Sounds good.
Amen.
That's it. We love you. Thank you for being here. I'll be back tomorrow with Jen. And I'm not in a good mood. And I'm not going to be until some of the demons start roasting over an open spit.
Well, we love you, Mike. We love you even though you're a wallflower. You don't know how to say it like it is. You hold everything in, Mike, but we still love you.
Yeah, I'm usually in that Zen Blake place most of the time.
Right.
Fuck the deep state. All right. I'm not in the mood for humor. I'm not in the mood for the memes. I'm not. This is the most critical juncture in American, if not world history in our lifetimes. And what we do, along with the other, we can't just follow the political leaders. What we do is going to decide what kind of world we're going to live in for the next 500 to 1,000 years.
Mike, why do you think Blake and I are here right now? Like we could do a million other things today, this whole week, right? But we're living through historic times, and we're trying to
exactly
taking us over the ditch and into the ocean front. We're trying to keep it on the road with everything we have. Like, yes, it's all urgent. No more fence sitting. Pick a side. I agree.
What each and every one of us do in this moment, in these next 6 months, is going to resonate throughout recorded history. 1,000 years from now, people will be talking about the choices that we made at this point in time. Do not forget that. And do not forget that you're here for that reason.
Amen.
God bless America.
Bless America.
God bless America.